Alright guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're here to talk about a product from Arcade. Now, if you guys have not heard of Arcade before, they have been around for a very long time. If you guys remember years ago when they first came out with their tank stick, they were really well known for, this control panel. Not this one specifically, but the one that they made, years and years ago. And I actually had one of those. And the reason that it was so popular is because of how durable it was. People loved the controls. It was called the tank stick because it was basically unbreakable, and you were able to use it with all your consoles and stuff like that. And that's why a lot of people liked it. This product came out here recently, and when the trailer dropped, I think I had the first reaction, like a lot of you guys out there, who probably said, like, I don't know if this is for me in the home arcade community, because this is probably for somebody who doesn't have an arcade machine already in the home. This is obviously a standalone unit like you guys are seeing here that, you would put in front of your computer monitor or in front of a TV on the wall, or, whatever the case may be, so you can play with this tank stick and this arcade machine and this arcade control panel without having, the room for arcade. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? I actually think I have a lot of uses for this. I actually think I could use it in my setup, even though you guys know on this channel, I already have a ton of arcades, downstairs in my home arcade, just like a lot of you guys. And then I started realizing that there was more than meets the eye to this. I thought it was just going to be, an arcade control panel like their original ones, and there wasn't going to be anything new about it except the fact that it was on a stand. But lo and behold, they added a lot to this that caught my interest. You guys know I love VR on this channel, and they have partnered with, a VR game called Arcade Ranger that we're going to talk about in this video that lets you use this arcade stick in VR with any game you can think of on MAME and all these different emulators and stuff. Play it in VR, but instead of using your Oculus controller, which is obviously not going to be as fun to play those games, you get to feel like you're actually playing on those arcades with this tank stick. And that made me really excited because I love VR, and you guys know I talk about VR on this channel a lot. So it was kind of a perfect marriage, in my opinion. It's like my love of arcades, my love of VR kind of mashed together. I got way more excited. So obviously I reached out to Arcade to see if they would send me one of these for review, because I definitely had to bring it to you guys because, half of this channel, a good majority of this channel is based on VR. Another good majority is based on arcades, with a couple of other things sprinkled in that you guys know I do, like travel videos and stuff. But, those are a good chunk of the videos that I do on this channel. So the fact that this was kind of a mirage of both coming together, it was definitely something I wanted to bring to you guys, review and see what this is like, and showcase it to you guys to see if this is something you guys may be interested, because I think a lot of us wrote this off right in the beginning when we first saw it as like, I don't know why I would want this. I kind of did that too, and then I did a second turn and I was like, wait a second, there's more here that meets the eye that this can become useful for. So let's go ahead and get into the video.
Gaming tech, eating brekkie is the gaming tech. Going for a recce is the gaming tech. Gaming techie is the gaming tech. Gaming techie.
All right, guys, so the first thing I want to talk about is the hardware itself and putting this together. Now, obviously, you can see I put this together already. It is really, really sturdy. This came, obviously, in all pieces and stuff like that. You can even see I forgot to take this little sticker off right here where it says number 12. So all the parts were labeled as far as putting this together, and it is made out of, steel and everything. So it is really, really sturdy. It has legs on the back right here, which is really good, because then you could just kind of lean this back. As you can see, I'm doing it with one hand, so it's not, incredibly heavy or anything, but it makes it easy to roll this around in a certain position. And then you can see it has levelers on the legs on all four corners as well. It uses bolts and everything. It comes with other tools you need to kind of put this together. But what I really liked is just how easy it was to put together. Everything was labeled with the numbers and everything was pretty quick. I think I did this in 30 minutes. It wasn't that long at all to screw all of that in and kind of put this together, and then this kind of goes in there and sits on top of it. So the build is really high quality, as you would expect from Arcade. Like I said, this is really well made, just like this is really well made as well, with everything that they've always been known for, and it fits really well. Now, as far as the aesthetics go, I really, really like, the way that it actually looks. You can see here on the bottom here, when you're looking at it, you can see the Arcade logo, which is really nice. The fact that it lights up in LED. Yes, of course, you can see the cables here running to my power outlet for the LED, so you do need to have this plugged in if you want those LEDs to work. But you can see how it's lighting up, and you can change this to different modes and stuff like that. You can see right now mine is kind of alternating between different ones, but if I press the X button here that is lighting up, you can see it makes a noise, and you can see it starts going to different colors. Now you can see the red, yellow, all the different colors, so you can have it, you know, whatever color you want. And I think it adds a really cool, you know, aesthetic look to it. I think without this LED, this wouldn't look as cool for sure. I think it looks a lot better, you know, if you're going to put this in the home arcade and kind of, you know, let it live there with the rest of your arcades, and maybe put it up next to a TV or something like that, where you're going to play your arcades. You know, that's a lot more aesthetically pleasing. As you can see, you can kind of sort this through and do whatever you want. So I'm going to go back and sort through all these different colors. But we'll leave it on red for now. But again, rainbow is my favorite because it kind of alternates through the colors that I had before that you guys saw. So really, really like that. Now, as far as the actual control panel goes, you guys can see here, this is a really high quality, just like the X Arcade like always has with the tank stick and stuff. They're using the same high quality buttons. These feel really, really good. As you can see here, as I'm touching them and stuff like that. Everything feels as high quality as you would expect from X Arcade. That's kind of what they're known for, is their tank stick and control. So it's not really a surprise that this is made really, really well. And then you got the trackball here in the middle that spins super well and feels really good. You got the player 1 and player 2, and then you got these different modes here that we'll talk about here in a minute that you can kind of alternate through. So it's not, I really like the white like sheen that's kind of here that you can kind of see. Really, really nice look to it. I like the red buttons, and just the way that it's all laid out feels really, really good. And no, you know, problems with me using this arcade stick with the buttons and everything that I've already played with on my PC and in VR that we're going to be talking about. And, you know, everything just works as good as you would expect it to from this company as far as the controls. I don't think anyone has ever had any complaints about the controls. I think what I was worried about with this is how it was going to feel on this. Like how it was going to, if it was going to feel sturdy playing on this, and if it was going to feel good. And you know, it does. There's no issue like playing on this when you're slamming on it or anything. This isn't going to go anywhere. As you can see me pushing down or anything, it's really sturdy in there. It doesn't move or go anywhere. So when you have two people kind of slamming on this and stuff like that, you're not going to have, you know, this thing going anywhere and you're afraid that this is going to, you know, slide down or anything. It feels great. And as you guys can tell right now, I have it slid all the way down because I was playing on my computer last. One of the things that makes this really versatile that I really like is that you can either play it like this, where the position is all the way down, which means that it's in great position, which you guys will see some gameplay in a minute, that you can play on your PC. So you can have your chair in front of you while you're sitting on it, and then have this in front of you. But if you're playing on a TV that's mounted or something on the wall, you wouldn't want it this low. Obviously, you can see I'm standing in front of it and I have to bend down a little bit to actually be able to reach it. So what you do is actually very easily, you come on the back of this unit, and as you can see here on the underneath, there's like a little slot right here that you put your hands into, and all you do is you kind of hold it, and then I just lifted it up to the slot that was all the way on top. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that with holding the camera at the same time because, you know, you need your both hands to kind of lift it up. But you can see it's now on the very top slot, so you can see the slots that this can go into, the different positions. You got this one and this one, so you got basically, you know, 3 or 4 different slots that this can kind of stop at depending on how high you want it. This is the highest it would go right here, and this is the perfect height. This is right in front of me. I'm 6 feet tall, so now when I'm, you know, in front of this with my hand or something like that and I'm playing and I'm looking straight ahead, there'd be a TV mounted on the wall, and I can play this, you know, with the arcade sticks very easily, and I can play it standing up, which is really nice. Again, I'll show you this while I'm playing on the computer later, but it is really nice that you have these different options on which ways, you know, it can go. Not something you see in a lot of these where you can adjust how level it is. So if you're playing on the computer, you can put it all the way down. If you're playing on the TV mounted, you can kind of lift it all the way up, which is really cool. Now, a lot of you guys are probably wondering what this is right here. This is actually a speaker that it actually came with. And when I first saw it, and this is a microphone that the speaker actually comes with, and it sounds, you know, I'm not an audiophile or anything, but it sounds good. And you guys will hear it in the gameplay. But like what I really like about it is that originally I was like, why would I want this if I'm going to be playing, you know, games and stuff like that, that already have speakers? But, you know, what I found myself doing is that when I was playing on the PC, because the arcade stick is going in the middle and then my chair is behind it, it is really nice to just have the speaker right in front of you, kind of blasting the audio from the game, because you can connect it, you know, via Bluetooth, or you connect it via USB. The USB is kind of dangling there on the floor right now. So you can connect it via USB to your computer or via Bluetooth, and then, you know, you can use whatever you want on Bluetooth on your computer, play whatever you want, and then play in the games and stuff, and it kind of comes shooting at you right in front of you, which is obviously helps with the immersion and stuff, because then the speakers are kind of sitting right here. So it's actually a pretty cool addition, and the fact that it matches the aesthetics is good, and the audio quality is really good. Never had this brand before. HeCat, if that's how that's pronounced there, but it does sound really good. And pretty impressed with, you know, with the sound coming out of here for games when I was using the arcade stick. And when it's positioned all the way up, it does look a lot better on the upper position, because then you can clearly see that lit up, as opposed to the first position that you guys saw me have it, because of course when you have it all the way down, it's kind of blocking the LED. But this is the position that I would leave it in most of the time, especially if it's shown off in a game room and stuff, because then you can clearly see the Xarcade logo. Don't mind the cables that are a mess right now, because they're just, you know, going to my power outlet that's all the way over there. This obviously wouldn't be like this when it's being used, but you could see that that's there. And one of the other things that we're going to talk about in this video, when I show you guys the gameplay, that, you know, people are always wondering, is what are these for? Why is this here? Why are these holes here? Originally, when I first saw them like an idiot, I kind of thought that it was for something that was going to be used in the actual stand, but it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the Oculus controllers, actually. When you play VR, the VR game I was telling you guys about, Arcade Ranger, you kind of sit these in here when you're playing a certain game, and you can see that that goes in there for VR, and then you have the left and the right one sitting in both positions when you're ready to play those games, and this is kind of sitting there when you're needed. You know, when you're playing the game and you're using these controls, you're ready to use these controls, and then if you need to pick these back up because you need to do an interaction in the game that you can't do with these controls, then you have these controls here ready to go. So it makes it really easy to play VR, and everything's kind of situated, ready to go. Now, there is 3 different modes that this can actually be in. And you can do that with the buttons over here that you can switch the modes into. So this actually supports keyboard and mouse mode. So in other words, all these buttons turn into like keyboard and mouse inputs, like the tab button, the enter button, all that kind of stuff that some people use with MAME and stuff like that. So that's an option. Then it also has D input as well, and then X input as well. You can easily do that by just holding down the mode button here in the middle, for example, when you're connected to a PC, and then holding a certain button that kind of matches the mode that you want to be in. I believe this one is the first button, which is the one that switches to X input, if I remember correctly. But you can switch the different inputs by holding that button and then pressing a key combination here for 5 seconds, and it kind of switches. You'll hear the computer make a ding, and then it's kind of ready to go in that mode. I'll show you the software when we get to the PC section, but really easy to switch between these 3 modes, and it gives a lot of versatility depending on what you're connected to. Now, one of the things that has always made this thing stand out, Xarcade in general, is the fact that this is compatible with a wide variety of devices. So we've obviously talked that they're venturing into VR with this unit, which is fantastic, that you're going to be able to do that. And we'll talk about that when we get to the VR section and how that connects and how that works with the Quest 3. But then there's also the fact that it connects with with your PC. Of course, PC is really easy. You just connect this USB cable that I have here on the floor, and then, you know, you just connect this via USB to your computer, and you're kind of ready to go, and you can switch between those 3 modes like we talked about. But one of the other things that, you know, makes this thing stand out is the fact that it comes with this little dongle. So this is the regular dongle that it kind of plugs into on the back via USB, this Xarcade, and then you can see this little cable that comes here, and this lets you plug into any of their accessories that they sell for all the consoles. So they have a bunch of different accessories that lets you connect this to, you know, your PS2, your PS3, your PlayStation 4, your PlayStation 5, your Xbox, and stuff like that. And yes, you'll need to buy multiple adapters for it to work on certain consoles, depending on what consoles you want it to work on. Out of the box, this is only going to work with VR on the Quest, and then also with your PC as well, and a couple of other consoles. But most of these things are going to need you know, to be plugged in, and you're going to have to buy, you know, different cables. This is just the one that it comes with mainly, but then you have to plug in the adapter on the other end of this to, you know, be able to work. But it's awesome that it's compatible with all of these different systems and stuff, which I think is super awesome and super cool, because that's what kind of sets us apart. Usually when you buy an arcade stick and Xbox is selling it to you, that means that it's only going to work on the Xbox, and that means it's only going to work on, you know, whatever you bought it for, or on PlayStation. You're never going to get cross compatibility, and that means that you always have to buy multiple arcade sticks if you're playing on different consoles like me. And that's what kind of makes this really cool, that I really like to have in my collection now, thanks to Xarcade, you know, sending this over to me, is that I have an arcade stick that now lets me play with 2 players, and it could be with any game that I want. Sure, I already have a bunch of arcades downstairs that let me play arcade games, but if I'm sitting in front of my computer and I want to play a computer game, boom, I can use this and play with 2 players on it, bring it down and play, you know, games that make sense to play on the arcade on my computer. Or if I'm downstairs playing my PlayStation 5, or even, actually, sorry, my PlayStation 5 is here actually behind the computer there. You can see my PlayStation 5 is over there hiding. If I want to play games that make sense in an arcade stick on the PlayStation, then boom, I can go ahead and play it on here or with this arcade stick and just buy an adapter for it if that's what I want to do. Or if I want to play my Series X here outside of my movie room, I can go ahead and buy an adapter and, you know, just play on that. So I have the ability to play this on any of the machines that I want to, which is awesome because a lot of arcade sticks are just compatible with 1 or 2 systems, which is kind of what XRcade has always been known for. This isn't new to this particular one. But it is, you know, something worth noting to point out. And also something I almost forgot is that there's buttons on the side here so you can play pinball games. So you can kind of set this up to play Pinball FX or any of that stuff on your PC. And the pinball buttons are ready to go right here on these sides. So definitely don't forget about that. And then just to show you guys the back of this unit here one more time. This little cable here is what plugs into the LED. So this is how the LED gets its power. It comes with this cable. It kind of plugs in there, and then you have it running to the outlet like I talked about. This is the speaker cable that we talked about here in white. And then there's 2 cables coming out of this. One of them is the LED, like we talked about here. And then the other one is the USB cable that goes into your computer that I have plugged in right now, but obviously this would change out depending on if you're connecting this to a console and stuff. Then you would use that adapter that I talked about before, and that would plug into whatever you need it to plug into. So nothing too crazy going on back here. Everything else is pretty standard. But also, when it comes to moving this around, you can see here on the side that there's these little things that you can tighten. This is where it kind of grips, so you can go ahead and use their unit here to kind of screw this down together if you want to make it tight so it really doesn't move. Because right now you can see it's standing in the position, but if I put a lot of force on it, it will slide down a little bit because I don't have this fully tied down. So just keep in mind that you can tighten these 2 here to really make it so this doesn't go anywhere if you push down on this, so it doesn't move out of those slots. You need to enforce these on both ends, as you can see on this side as well, because that's what's kind of holding it in that position. So you want to tighten those if you need to. And something else that's really cool is the storage area that they give you on this, which I almost missed when I first did it. So you can see here underneath on the bottom, so there's that grip that I was talking about before that lets you move this up and down. But then there's also some storage area that gives you some storage stuff. So if you open this up here, you can see I opened up this little area here. And what comes out of here is, you can see here, this is another option that you could have for your arcade stick. So you don't have to use the ball tops that are sitting there. You could switch it to these instead. And they kind of have them just stored up in here. There's another one stuck all the way in there. So just so you guys know, they come stored in there. So when you're looking for them and stuff like that, this comes with the machine. And you can kind of just store them in there if you're not using it, and kind of cover this up. So it's really cool that that's there. And then on the other side of this, if I open this one up, you can see right here, this is where the little driver is, and this is how you tighten this thing on the side and stuff that I was just telling you about, that you kind of stick in here so it doesn't move. So you can see I can tighten and loosen it. This is actually where it's stored, so you don't have to worry about losing it or anything. It kind of has like little foam underneath there that stores it really nicely, which is also super awesome that that's there, and really makes things tidy. I thought that that was really cool that that was kind of all tidied up in there and you know, stored there all really nicely. Also, what it also came with is the the gates here. So it came pre-installed already with the 8-way gates. So if you're playing 8-way games, then that's already ready to go. If you want to switch it to the 4-way, they came with these, and you can kind of swap out the, you know, the controls inside, so it's not 8-way, and you can switch it to 4-way, which is cool. If you want to make one 8-way because you're playing this solo a lot, and you want to make another one 4-way, you can do that, or vice versa, whatever you want to do. But it does come with these, which I thought was a great thing, that it gives you these options right out of the box. So I think that takes care of looking at the hardware over here for the first part of this. So like I said, I think the hardware is really good. It is really sturdy, which is what we all hoped for, because that's kind of what makes this stand out. Like I said, they've been making tank sticks for a while. That's nothing new. They've always been really solid. The controls have always been amazing. And, you know, it's always been really sturdy and indestructible, like a lot of people have said about their products. But what was it going to be like when you had this stand all together? That's kind of what made this, you know, different. And what I have to say is it's built just as well as the tank stick is. It's fantastic. I love the LEDs. Like I said, it stands out. It really makes it cool to look at in a room when you have it standing up there in the corner. And it works really well. And the included speaker that you get for free when you pre-order right now is also awesome, because don't forget, guys, this doesn't come out, I don't think I mentioned it till now, but this comes out in November. So I got this a little early, so it's not fully out yet. There are taking pre-orders, and they should be available in November. But yeah, I think they did a fantastic job with the actual hardware side. The fact that they have the wheels there on the back, like I talked about, so you can easily move this around. The levelers on the bottom, all that stuff is all there. The controls feel fantastic. The little storage compartments underneath that I showed you guys are all great. So, I mean, I think the hardware, they kind of knocked it out of the park. I don't really think I have anything that I would have wanted this to do. I mean, it's built exactly the way that they wanted it to be. It's a stand for your arcade stick, so you can either A, play sitting down and have it sitting in front of you and not have to put it on a desk, which is exactly what I'm about to show you guys next, or have it standing up for people who are either playing VR, which we will talk about, because this is the perfect position to have it to play VR since you're standing up, or you can play it sitting down if you want to, or if you have a TV in front of you and you have it in this position as well, then you can play it that way. So hardware, fantastic. Let's go ahead and get into some gameplay on the PC side so you guys can see kind of how that works. All right, guys, so I'm sitting here in front of my PC. This is the lowest position of it, and I'm sitting in my chair here, and it is in perfect position to be able to play games while sitting down in my chair, as you can see here, if I was playing this on my PC. And I'm using an LG monitor. I talked about my 42-inch C2 that I use for my PC monitor, so it's obviously bigger than a lot of other people's monitor. So when you're staring at your TV screen like this on my monitor, you know, this does hit the edges when you're staring at it, as you can see right here, because I'm trying to make it as centered as possible. So I'm looking directly center at the monitor while sitting back here. Like I said, most people are going to have a smaller monitor than a 42-inch beast. So just keep that in mind. But it is really fun to be able to play with an arcade stick on a PC for games that make sense, as you can see in front of you. And I do have these speakers also connected, so you guys will hear how this actually sounds. And then you guys will see that the software here is in front of me as well. So you can see this, the PC, this is how you upgrade the firmware. If there was a new firmware, you can just go ahead and hit this button and then upgrade the firmware. You can factory reset it. You can save a configuration, and you can see the red line, what actual input it's actually in. So X input is what it's actually connected to right now, which basically makes it show up like an Xbox controller, which is, you know, usually the way I like to, you know, set these up. All right, guys, so you can see here I'm at the main menu of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Just to give you guys some quick gameplay of me playing this on the arcade sticks. Like I said, I'll get you a close-up shot of this in a minute, but I do have the sound also coming from here, which, as you can tell, is not at its full volume, so I'm gonna raise it for you guys. So it goes really loud. This is the highest volume that it goes at, so you guys can get an idea. And then I'm gonna go ahead and hit arcade mode.
Select your hero.
So it is really great to be able to play this
Turtles, let's get our shells in gear.
with the arcade sticks like it was meant to be played. If you have a PC and stuff like that and you want to play Street Fighter V and all those other games, I'm not the biggest fighting fan. I try to, but I'm terrible at it. The controls, like I said, feel fantastic on the PC when playing. You can see here.
I gotta focus.
Feels great, looks great. And even though I'm using a 42-inch monitor, it might not be coming across in the video, but even though I'm using a gigantic monitor that most people aren't using, these like tower things that are sitting in front of me here that kind of block the view actually don't block my view of the monitor. 42 inches is kind of like the edge of where I'm staring right now in the center, so it actually works out. And I just accidentally used my super, so that wasn't great. But these controls work really well. As you guys would expect on the PC. Like I said, PC works right out of the box. No need for any adapters, but obviously you'll need adapters if you're trying to play on consoles and stuff. But it has them for everything. The Switch, the Xbox, PS5, all of it is all there, which is great. But yeah, as you can see, playing this with the arcade sticks, I think everybody knows is much better than playing with a controller. And that's kind of what sets this apart for me. When I first saw it, I was like, why am I going to buy this when I already have our, you know, arcades downstairs? And it's for those times that I want to play on my PC and play these games like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat, and I don't want to feel like playing on the arcade. I can go ahead and still have an arcade-like experience with this arcade stick kind of connected on my PC. And especially if it's a game that's on my PlayStation 5 or something like that, because obviously then, you know, I'm only going to be able to, if I'm playing on a console, especially my old consoles. You guys know I own PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1 and, you know, Switch and all that kind of stuff. So I'm obviously not going to be able to play a lot of those games, you know, with an arcade stick. So it's awesome to be able to play all those retro games on their consoles, and like I have, and all the actual games that I own and physical copies of, and still be able to play it with an arcade stick that's compatible with all of that, and all I need is adapters, and I can have these great control panel and still play those games. So that's definitely what sets it apart from me. On what I'm going to be using it mostly for is retro consoles that I own, PC when I'm in the mood to play on my main PC up here, and of course also when I'm playing on the in VR, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. But yeah, you guys get the idea. It works great, and it works great with a lot of the games. This is just a quick, you know, video of what it's like on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, but it works great, and you can see that, you know, this doesn't really get in my way when I'm looking at the screen here. It kind of, 42 inches is kind of the cusp on where this actually fits without it being, you know, in my face, which is what I was nervous about, but it works great. All right, guys, so I'm going to show you a couple of minutes, a match here of Street Fighter 6, because I know a lot of people like to see this in you know, in a form of a fighting game, just to show you guys and talk about how it feels. Obviously, it's going to feel great with these controls and playing it on here, but I do at least want to talk about it. Again, remember, I'm playing on PC, but you can, of course, play this also on, you know, whatever you want to play it on. PlayStation 5, as long as you get the right adapters and everything. You can see here that, you know, both arcade sticks are working on the game very easily, so I can just, you know, go to player 1, or if I was playing with player 2, we can easily play 2 players, but of course, we're just gonna do CPU versus me right now. And all this sound is coming from the speaker in front of me right now, so you guys can hear how good it sounds. It is at max volume, but it sounds really good in my opinion.
Our fighters are pumping themselves up and are raring to go. Who's going to come out on top in this fight?
And it has that built-in mic in case you want to talk to people hands-free without a headset on, which is cool if you're talking to people online.
The fight's now underway. This is Vicious with the play.
I'm probably gonna get rocked because I'm terrible at fighting games.
There's a chance of that jumping. Puts one in the pocket. The cross-up connects.
I forget. I don't really remember what I put.
This is the perfect range to reach out and tag them with something. Taking stock.
Shit.
There's space to make something happen here, and neither fighter looks willing to back down.
Damn it.
Oh, talk about overextending. Knockdown. It's a big gamble and rips out a raw super. Jumps up, gets the parry in, and adds some pressure. This is the range where things get messy. Can they utilize KO?
Got him at least. I'm also playing on easy, I believe. So nothing. It's not that special.
Want to keep the pressure on.
The game is running at full 4K as well, but
immediate jumping.
Actually, let me pause this, and I'm gonna do a different angle because you guys don't need to always see the controls. I'll show you guys the second fight, you know, in front of the actual game here, so you guys can get an idea of what it looks like, you know, right in front of me. So you guys can get a different view this time of the game running.
Are we going to see some fireworks? Delivers the pain right to their doorstep. Who will gain control of the match in the early going? What'll happen here? Player 1 has a slight life lead that they may sit on. They're backed up into the corner. Knockdown, and player 1 is what's going on the offensive. You've got to be mindful of reach and jump charges forward. Down on earth, cranking it up. Not much life left, but their drive usage may save them. And they
Oh, I
an
missed.
opportunity for themselves to burn out, but they may have a plan here. Oh, they did. Ooh, what a smart throw. Player one can't afford mistakes or nothing. Oh, they're getting it out. Player one brings it home. Let's see if they can build themselves a streak.
But there you go, guys. Really, really cool. Works super well, like I talked about. Plug and play on the PC when you switch it to X input because it just shows up like an Xbox controller, so it works with the majority of PC games. And you can obviously use D input and keyboard mode if you're doing MAME and stuff like that. If you'd rather do that, all those options are there for you. But let's go ahead and now talk a little bit about and show you guys VR. All right, guys, so here we are with Arcade Ranger, the VR game that I wanted to showcase with you guys with this unit. So what's really cool about this is actually what I've been most excited about, what really got me interested in this Arcade, control stick, because not only can you play all the consoles with it, but I can even use it in VR. And you guys know we love VR on this channel, so I'm excited to show this off to you guys, give you an overview of what this app can do. And this all works because you have this little black dongle here on the side of my Quest. You just plug it into the side. That's like a little Bluetooth receiver, and it automatically pairs to the Arcade stick, connects via Bluetooth, and you're kind of good to go. Basically, you come in here, and this is the main hub world that you guys are looking at here. I can move around. I'm with the Oculus controllers right now. This is in early access for me for review purposes, so that's why these two modes aren't here yet. When the game fully comes out, you'll see campaign mode, which is basically you going through owning an arcade, and you're owning an arcade and building it up and handling customers and stuff like that. They'll have a DLC store and stuff. So what we're going to concentrate on is just showcasing the sandbox mode and the MR mode in this hub area here that you guys are staring at. So as far as this little hub world here, you can see how cool it looks. You got some arcade machines here. You got a basketball. You can mess with the basketball over there. You got some more arcade machines over here. Just a little hub area where you kind of start off in the actual home area. And then you have the Arcade digital version sitting right there. I like the way that they did the decorations on the walls and stuff like that. You got some Pac-Man over there. And then all these arcades have names that you kind of know are themed to a certain game, which is pretty funny, but not actually, like Donkey King, for example, and Duplicate Dragon. I think we know what those all are, which is really cool. So let's start off with how this thing actually pairs. So if you need to go into the settings here on the top, you'll see there is a control button. So if you play with just the Oculus, which you can just use these buttons here, and then you can play, arcade games and stuff like that if you want to. But then player one here is already auto mapped to you for the Arcade stick. You don't need to do anything. The only thing you have to do is map this R3 button, because this was set to none. I mapped it to the left analog stick on my Oculus controller. That basically brings up, R3 is mapped to bringing up when you configure MAME. That's going to be what that works with, because MAME, when you're going to MAME, you need to configure the options and stuff like that to get the controls to work. All the other emulators that this thing comes with are kind of all ready to go, because you don't have to, set them up again, unlike MAME, where you have to set it up within MAME and the emulator that you use. This does not come with any ROMs or anything. You have to source that yourself, but it does come with all the emulators that we're going to show off here in a second. So if I back out of here, one of the things you could do is you can either go up to an arcade or go up to the Arcade. So let's go ahead and go up to the Arcade stick, for example. Let me go ahead and slide over here and be in front of my own Arcade stick here that you can see is plugged in. And let me go ahead and hit it. So obviously I'm a little bit off center right now, but you'll see that that's fixed here in a minute. Basically the file folder here is this is auto set up, all the emulators that are here. This is all the emulators and cores that this thing actually works with. You can see them here. You got some Super Nintendo ones and stuff like that. If I can grab the lowering there. You got a couple of MAME ones, NES. You got, a couple of ones on here, Neo Geo. You got a Genesis one, Dolphin. So you got a couple of them on here. And if you guys want to see a tutorial on how to add ROMs, you can leave comments down below in this video on how you actually add it into the Oculus, because you do have to go in there and create a couple of folders and stuff like that, and then add the ROMs into those folders so they appear in here. You can see MAME 2010 is the one I have. I'm going to go ahead. I have 3 in here. I'm going to go ahead and choose TMNT. Go ahead and confirm. You can also edit the settings. You can go ahead and do a small screen size, like you can see back there, medium screen size, or large. And then you can also do a screen orientation. We're going to go ahead and leave it at default, but it is cool that you can rotate it if you need to. Screen distance could be near, medium, or far. We're going to go ahead and do near. You can do the screen angle. We're going to go ahead and do 90 degrees for this purpose here, but you have all those options. You can display a border if you want to, or not display the border of the TV, which is cool. You can change the color of the X Arcade. You can change how high it is, which we're going to go ahead and do high right there. And then you can just decide not to show the machine at all if you don't want to. So we're going to go ahead and leave it just like that, and we're going to go ahead and go back. Turn on X Arcade mode, which is, you know, obviously the X Arcade stick in front of me. And then when you hit play now, you basically get brought into here, as you can see, into your, you know, mixed reality here, into your home environment. And then you basically take your Oculus controllers, you dock them into this little area here on the X Arcade. And then you basically hold these two buttons here. And then as you can see, you're brought into being completely mapped right in front of you. You can see my hands here. Once they sync up, you can see I now have hands here. And then you can put the hands on the analog stick. You can see everything moves in real time, which is also cool, which is great. Now, one of the things I told you is I mapped the R3 button, so if I hit that, you can see that it just brings up. I already customized this, and then I'm just going to go ahead and hit this button here. And here we are. We are literally playing TMNT right now, and we are playing in VR on a screen in front of you using the X Arcade stick, and you can see the buttons are actually highlighting what you're actually hitting, which is obviously cool. And it makes it feel like there's actually a stick in front of you, which is awesome. It feels really good. It feels just like you would play with this arcade stick if you were playing on a console and stuff, but you're actually playing in VR, which is super, super awesome. So we're not going to spend a lot of time, you know, sitting on here. I just want to show you guys that that does work. When you're ready and done, you can go ahead and pull this up, and then you just go ahead and close this out and hit close, and then you can leave that kind of playing there if you want to, and then you're back here in the little hub world. You can do the same thing on here. So if you come up to an arcade machine, for example, and I go to a folder and I do the same thing as before, you can have multiple games going at once. So if I do ahead and do this, I'm not going to turn on X Arcade for right now just to show you, but you can also choose the cabin artwork, so you can see it changes as you go. There is an option here for custom. That seems to be something that's up and coming. We're going to be able to do custom artwork on this, so that is an option if you know, up and coming. But they do have some other ones here that you can kind of scroll through and kind of set up that you can you know, do if you want to and confirm it. Then you can go ahead and go back, and if you were to hit play now, you can go ahead, and there you go. You got TMNT working. I'm using the Oculus controllers right now, as you can see, because I didn't hit the X Arcade mode to turn that on, but I'm sitting here, you know, now playing with, you know, the Oculus controllers. So you don't have to play with the X Arcade stick if you don't want to. You can go ahead and play all of these right at the same time, which is super cool. That's what's really cool. You can be in this little hub area and kind of playing whatever game you want. Imagine any MAME game you want that's kind of sitting there on playing like you're in a real arcade, which is super cool as it's running. And that's really awesome. And that's just this main hub world. The next thing we're going to talk about is MR mode, which is exactly what you kind of think it probably sounds like. If you go ahead and hit confirm, you get this arcade that's literally gigantic in front of you. I've already scanned my room, but you can scan your room if you need to. If you go ahead and scan this, if I step back a little bit, and then you can kind of put this anywhere you want in your room, and you have this gigantic arcade in front of you, and it's the exact same thing. You can play whatever game you want. You can edit, you know, the arcade that you want to play or whatever, and then you can confirm it. You know, have these kind of around your room, and you know, be playing these different MAME games, which is super cool to kind of have that right in front of you and be playing whatever game you want. If I go ahead and go back here, MAME, and then, for example, open this up, go ahead and hit play now. Now we're playing, you know, a trackball game. So super cool that you can actually do this on here. And yeah, it's really cool that you can kind of just have this in mixed reality and kind of, you know, be playing around with this and move it around and move the arcade stick, and it kind of feels like you have an arcade in your room. I mean, look at the size of this thing. It really looks like a real arcade as you see me moving around here with this thing in front of you. So you may not have the money for or a space for a gigantic arcade in your house, but you have an alternative. You could do it this way as well, which is super cool. You can kind of pull up this button here while you're in MR mode and add a bunch of customization stuff. So you can see here, you can add things like a flag, for example, and then kind of decorate your MR mode and kind of put that there. You can add all sorts of things all over the place. You can add even another arcade machine. So if I go ahead and add another one, you can add another arcade machine if you want to. You can even add these Japanese style arcade machines. You can add the X Arcade stick in general and kind of put that somewhere. But you can go ahead, if you purchase the X Arcade, select to connect your physical and use it for gameplay. Or you can just do normal mode and kind of build it like this. And then here you go. Right here, right next to me, all these arcades. And again, they have all these interactive objects, which we're going to talk a little bit more about when we get to the other modes. But this is super, super cool. And you can even invite friends and stuff like that to kind of come join you. Now, if we go ahead and exit and go back to the lobby here and exit out of MR mode, so you can see how much customization and stuff. And I can't wait to see what else they add, because they obviously have an upcoming DLC store. So we'll see what they do with that and what gets added. But the potential for this is kind of enormous. And I think this stuff is super cool. And sandbox mode, you can create an arcade or host one and then have your friends join you as well, which is super awesome. You can see the room code there, for example, and you can join that room if you had one, or you can just host your own. And you can select permissions if you want to make it private, if you want to let people edit and stuff like that, which is cool. You can go ahead and select a save if you have one. And look at all these different worlds that they have that kind of set the theme of what your arcade's going to look like, which is super cool. So if I go ahead and hit this one, for example, you can go ahead and name it. We'll just name it Test for the time being. And then we just go ahead and hit confirm. It's going to bring us in there. And now we're in here. Look at this little Pac-Man all over the wall. And now you have a blank canvas to basically, you and your friends can come in here with that room code and basically use that same building tools that I showed you before in MR mode. And you can invite people right here. And now you could use all these objects. I mean, you got platform objects, as you can see here. But you can go ahead and pull up this flag here, and you can see you can rotate it. You can make it smaller or bigger. All of these objects you can scale. As you can see, I'm making the flag bigger. I can rotate it, put it anywhere I want on the wall. You can cancel it. You can do that with all these mini games ones as well. I mean, look at these things. You can put all these mini game ones, make it smaller or bigger if you want to, rotate it, whatever you want to do. Really, really cool. All these different objects that they have. You got a bowling machine. You could basically make your own arcade. You got a basketball one here as well. And then you got some unlockables as well, as you can see here, which is really cool. Some basketball stuff. You know, really make your arcade kind of feel like it's your own. And then you got all the classic arcade machines. Bunch of different objects to start with. So you got some LED signs as well that you can, of course, like I said, make bigger if you want to, or smaller. Super, super cool. All these LEDs, you can go crazy with the customization with this, just like you could in a real arcade, hanging these up on the wall and kind of customizing the layout any way you want. You know, DJ booth, dinosaur, you know, you can grab this dinosaur and kind of make it as big or as small as you want. Look at that thing. Whatever you want to do with it. Again, and all these different objects that they have as I'm scrolling through is awesome. Really making your arcade, you know, your own. And I hope that they keep expanding this stuff and let you do more and more, because this is super, super cool. People are going to be able to host their own arcades and really, you know, get involved and kind of make something of their own, and that we're all going to be able to share and join our friends' arcade to really make it feel like your own. But of course, what sets this thing apart from just being, hey, I can create my own arcade in VR, which is not the first application to do this, is the fact that you can use this X Arcade stick and really make it feel like you're playing in an arcade with proper controls. Because let's face it, you know, using, you know, the Oculus controllers here like I was doing just now is not an ideal situation when you're playing an arcade game. You want to be able to use an actual control stick, and the fact that this arcade stick from X Arcade kind of lets you do all of that with this game is awesome. You can play, you know, trackball games, as you can see here. You can play you know, 2 players or 1 player here. You can have your friends join. You can use all these controls. You can play all those different emulators that you guys saw that are on there. You just have to bring your own ROMs and play them in here. And, you know, this is what is exciting about VR, is the fact that you can be in a 3D world like this, use something physical in your world, whether you're in mixed reality or not, but still be able to play a game virtually and feel like you're somewhere else. And this kind of helps it happen for an arcade, because what's an arcade without real controls and just using a controller like this? Not as cool. But the fact that I can have a gigantic screen, as you guys saw over there, or I can be in front of an arcade to really get that experience and kind of feel like I'm there, is just all super, super cool stuff in my opinion. And yeah,
I can't wait to see this app develop. This is what sold me to getting in touch with Xarcade to kind of take this project on and make this review or impressions video for you guys, was the fact that it worked through VR. That was my first initial gut reaction, is the fact that like, oh, this is super awesome, because how awesome is it to be able to use an arcade stick in VR? And this app that they're developing with them, I hope continues to get updates, continues to get DLC, continues to get free updates. I can't wait to check out the campaign mode. Can't wait to see what arcades people build. And I can't wait to fill up my, quests with a bunch of different ROMs and stuff from all these different games, and kind of have friends come over and just have this in my arcade. I can have this arcade stick in my arcade and just kind of have friends come over and play it in VR, which is going to kind of blow their mind a little bit, because none of them have ever experienced doing something like that. So, but yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to talk about with, with this arcade stick. So let's go ahead and get into my final thoughts.
All right, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that video on the Arcade2TV from Xarcade. I'm really, really impressed with this thing. And what's really crazy to me is that when I first saw this product, I think a lot of us saw the video and we were like, why would anybody want this? Like, what's the point of this? We've already had arcade sticks before. What makes this one special? What's the point of this one? And then I started digging into it more. And again, the VR stuff was what got me excited. But then it was also about the fact, like, hey, I have an arcade stick now that works across everything. Yes, you have to buy some adapters, of course, but it also has a stand, which, a lot of the reasons why I don't use an arcade stick with my PC is I don't really want to put a gigantic arcade stick. Imagine this gigantic arcade stick sitting on top of my desk, right on top of the monitor. Well, this now has a mount that looks all nice and stuff with the Xarcade LEDs that I showed you in the front, and you can play your PC Street Fighter and stuff like that right on top of it if you want to. So if I'm playing in front of my PC, I can still use this machine. And then you got the VR stuff like I talked about, like I showcased there, where that's like a game changer to me, because now I can have this whole thing kind of sitting in my arcade when I have a party kind of in the corner, and then people are like, what's this for? Because there's no TV in front of it, and then the Oculus is just hanging right there on the side. People put that on, and then they can play an arcade game in VR, which obviously is novel and cool that you could be in an arcade, feel like you're in an arcade, one that I made myself by customizing it, which is super cool. And they can be in that arcade and, playing all these different games that I purposely set up with all the ROM files that I have on there and stuff like that, and kind of make the arcade feel like your own, like all your favorite MAME games and all your favorite games in general, which is, obviously awesome. And you can also use this for pinball, again, with the pinball buttons on the side as well. And this little speaker system that it came with is actually pretty good. That you can use, for audio and stuff like that when you're playing on whether it's your PC or console, whatever. Again, this can come right out of the box and work with your PC and with Oculus right out of the box as is. If you want to be able to play this with other systems like your Xbox and PlayStation, whether it's the original PlayStation 1, PS2, PS3, PS4, up to PS5, then you'll need to buy the adapters like I talked about in this video. But obviously, that's well worth it. You can have an arcade stick that, has really premium controls. Xarcade has always been known for that. There's no doubt about it. The trackball feels great. The buttons feel as they always do. Joysticks feel great. The hidden compartments on the bottom are super cool, that it holds like your bat tops and stuff like that. The fact that you can move this thing up and down. So if you're sitting, you can put it lower. If you're standing and playing VR and stuff, you could put it higher. It's all well thought out. It's built really well, of course, with the steel that's here. Again, I thought that I wasn't going to have any need in my place for this in my home, because I was like, obviously I already have a bunch of arcades. I could already play a bunch of MAME games. What am I going to do with this thing? But then it's like, oh wait, I can now play on my PC because this can move up and down. And if I'm playing a game on my PC, I can now use this arcade stick. Oh wait, now I can use it for VR with the cool applications that they're making. And I hope that that continues and they keep supporting Arcade Ranger and fully fleshing that out to add even more and make everyone's arcades, better and better, which is fantastic. And we're just at the starting gate. I got an early release of it, and I'm already impressed with that application, with all the customization that it has already, and it's only going to get better in the future. And then, I don't have arcade sticks for PlayStation 1 or PS2 or Xbox One, or I only have, I think, 2 other arcade sticks for the newer gen stuff. But, I'm not going to buy 10 different arcade sticks, one for PlayStation 1, one for PS2, one for Xbox 360, one for that. Now you could just have one, move it anywhere you want it to go, and buy any adapter that you need for whatever systems you own, which for me is a big benefit, because now I can play these fighters and stuff on all those retro consoles that you guys know I own, and just have one arcade stick here ready to go. So for me, it's kind of the Swiss Army knife of playing any fighting games or arcade games, whether it's VR, my retro consoles, or my PC. it's super cool. But I think a lot of the times it's going to sit in my arcade when there's a party, and people are just going to go up to it and play in VR and be like, wow, this is super cool. I've never done anything like this, and I think that's going to be a hit, especially for me. So that is super cool. But hopefully you guys, I know this video is very, very long, so I'll cut it there. I'm very, very impressed with it. There'll be a link down below, my affiliate link, if you guys want to help out and support the channel, if you guys want to buy it for yourself. Obviously, I showed you a lot of stuff in this video. If you guys have any questions about this product or anything you guys may have seen, as always, leave it down below. If not, thank you guys for watching. Till next time.